What if your next team workshop delivered the results you hoped for? What if everyone believed that the working session was a valuable use of their time and felt inspired to take action? My name is Miriam Hatness, and it is my mission to help you to deliver workshops that work. Today with me on the show is Grazyna Frackiewicz. She has a background in marketing and sales, in education, and in acting, and she's now a facilitator and also trains facilitators to feel more comfortable with uncertainty. So this is exactly the topic of our conversation today, so stay tuned. Hello, Grazyna.
Hi, Miriam.
Good to have you here today.
Yes, I'm also very excited and thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, we had this mastermind session last week.
Yes, it was amazing. Huge congratulations to you, Miriam, because you really gathered amazing people, fantastic facilitators in one place. And there was so much value that I took out, and also I was able to give. Amazing knowledge sharing.
Thank you. That's a lot of, I'm blushing right now.
You should.
So let's talk about you. You have such a diverse background. You've traveled to many places, worked in many different places. If you had to summarize all of that in one hashtag, what would you be?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. I would say energy. Hashtag energy. It's the energy that keeps me going to those different places, staying up to my own abilities to respond to opportunities. And also I take a lot of energy from meeting new people, finding myself in new circumstances and learning. So it's all about exchange of that energy.
I could definitely feel that energy when I saw you on a stage doing stand-up comedy.
Yes.
And your energy spilled over to the audience.
Yeah. Thank you.
I looked up your background and saw that you started in sales and marketing, working for big corporates. You do stand-up comedy. You're an actress. And I got to know you as a facilitator. So what's your story? How did you travel from one to the other?
Well, it all starts with my passion actually for acting. Of course, it's a typical story. When I was a little girl, I was performing in all the shows. I was involved in any spokesperson for the class. So I always wanted to become an actress, but more importantly, I just wanted to study it. I was fascinated how we move, why we react in the way we do. So all the philosophy of life and psychology behind who is a human being. And believe me or not, acting actually provides all of it. So I followed my education in acting. But life is tough. And of course, I had many voices saying you should get a real job. So I did. At the same time, having that real job was very useful for my acting background, because they say that you can only be a good actor if you have lots of life experience. So finding myself in that new role among the people was also beneficial to who I am as a person and also professionally, to learn a lot from different fields and use my skills in a different way as well.
So when was the moment that you decided then to quit your job and go back into acting?
It actually happened me moving to Sicily. Because in Sicily, if you know, it's quite hard, their economical situation in Italy right now. So I remember I was speaking to my friend and she told me, you have a background in sales and project management and marketing, and you also have a background in acting, teaching theater, and also actually you speak English. So why not having your own business? That really stayed with me and hooked with me a lot. So I started to studying, learning theories, methodology, how I can translate theater tools and toolkit for actors actually in the learning classroom. And I found lots of literature about it, lots of studies that it is actually used widely because it's an engaging learning, it's experiential learning as well, active learning. So after some studies, taking some courses, taking some certifications, etc., I launched my own improvisation classes. But I was teaching English. We were actually studying English in those classes.
What a nice idea. So who were your students? Were they adults or adolescents?
I started with adults and I started with private workshops for individuals. It was from all over backgrounds, young people just graduated, still at their university, but also English teachers, because they wanted to know how they can teach their students more actively, more role-playing, more engaging, actually use of English language in a conversation rather than just from the book.
And you mentioned that you were told that to be a better actor, you need to have life experience. So what did you learn from your life as a sales and marketing person, project manager, then really for the acting and for teaching improvisation?
That it's really important to provide outcome, that it's really important to have clear goals and define process.
I love this answer. Makes total sense, yeah.
It's very organic, I would say. Sometimes unpredictable, learning soft skills. As a human being, when we have to apply our whole self, it's intangible sometimes. But the thing is that everything can be tangible. If we set a clear goal, a clear aim, even if it seems vague, during the process, it will become much clearer what actually we are tapping into. So applying logic, you can do to everything. And I think that's what working for corporations and being more on the organizational side helped me also to apply and see things from a bigger perspective rather than just, hey, let's just do exercise. Feel it. What do you feel? Yes, now tell me.
Yeah, it's a different style of training or facilitating. And you mentioned soft skills. Would you think that improvisation or even communication is really a soft skill? Because the more I think about it, the more I realize that it's actually a hard skill because there's some theory behind it. There are clear evidence of how to do things and how to improve it.
Absolutely. Welcome to the club of people who understands and also believe that a soft skill is actually a hard skill. It's a life skill.
Yeah, maybe not all soft skills. For instance, is empathy a soft skill?
I give it a lot of thought. And to be honest, empathy is a skill. We think it's something you are born with. You are more sensitive to your environment. You have more empathy just because the way you are. The truth is, it can be trained, can be acquired. It's a skill, it's ability. Whatever in us is an ability is a skill.
Yeah, I had a conversation with Daniel Stillman last week, and we talked about something similar, is the ability to read a room, and I asked him whether you can learn it or not, and he said he hopes it, because that's what he teaches in his facilitation classes. He says it's all about body language and also mimic, and it's the ability to read the signs that are given to you by your audience.
Yeah, it's practical. Reading the room really can come also with practical tools of how to learn it. It's, first of all, you start with listening to yourself. Sounds vague? Well, no. If we create a tangible goal to it, how's your stomach today? You are not able to feel it right now? Don't worry, it will come. Because you are training your attention.
Yeah.
So what we are training here right now is the attention. Where do I put my attention to? So you see, everything can be very tangible and can be done in the process. So if you're already able, for example, to feel, because you are able to put attention to something, to your legs, to your head, to your chest, immediately this will also translate that you can put clear attention to something else because you practice focusing. And then another stimuli will come into your perspective and perception. And then you will become much more sensible to read those as well.
So the better you know yourself and you can feel yourself, the better you can also translate it to others.
Yes, the more you practice being present to yourself, which is the easiest target.
Yeah.
That's why we're starting there.
And still it's very difficult. Everyone who tried or practices meditation knows how difficult that is.
Oh, yes. Look, when I first tried meditation, and I had actually a lot of my acting background is in physical theater. So I'm with my body, I'm in. I'm a friend. I can feel it, right? I tried the first time meditation and I got scared because I could hear my heart pumping. And it felt just so scary. I'm just a live organism that might die one day because it goes all to the blood, that pumps my heart.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. That was my first learning objective, is to be able to stay in listening. To acquire that capacity just to be there.
Yeah.
Comfortably.
Yeah. And we agreed that today we'll talk about uncertainty.
Yes.
Because we both realized that one big issue in facilitation, especially when working with a new group, when we have a clear target, goal, process, there are always things that come up that we haven't planned. Some elephant in the room that is unrevealed, or some hidden conflict. How do you deal with uncertainty given your background in improvisation theater and with your connection to yourself?
I became a really good friend with uncertainty. You can almost get addicted to it. The more you do improvisation and the more you stay in the unknown state, the more pleasurable it is. Because the thing is, with uncertainty sounds scary, the things you are not certain of. But that's exactly the scary place to be. In that limbo, in that fear. It's much more pleasurable and enjoyable and rewarding if you actually put yourself in motor, if you are actually on that wave and you can become comfortable with it. Again, it's an ability. It's like sailing through the sea. The first time you go, it's scary, but then you learn. You learn how to operate, how to read the sea. All those things can also be applied to the workshop settings.
And it reminds me of, I think it was a TED Talk where the person mentioned that actually it's the same feeling we have when we are scared and when we're excited. So just by relabeling this feeling that we have, this very fast heartbeat, sweaty palms or whatsoever, if we tell ourselves, okay, that's excitement, then this is what I hear when you say addictive.
Yeah, you said it right, that a mindset shift has to happen to open ourselves to the uncertainty. Until we are close to it, there is a control. And if we try to control something, it will always go back to us in things we could not foresee because we're so focusing on controlling that one thing that we lost the perspective.
Yeah.
Being open is being ready to anything that might come. And the readiness in it is the important factor.
And this reminds me of the conversation we had to prepare this podcast, where we spoke about the facilitator and how much it is about the facilitator, him or herself, or about the group. So if we're trying to have control, to control our uncertainty by putting certainty and predictability in the room, this means it's all about us, right?
Yes. Yes. It might sound a bit philosophical what I'm saying right now, but it's very, very practical. In the moment, for example, if I'm speaking to you right now in this podcast, I'm focusing only on how Miriam is seeing me because I need to be authoritative in this room, right? Mm-hmm. I need people to listen to me. Mm-hmm. You see where all my energy, mental reasoning, where it all goes? It goes all to that one aspect. Mm-hmm. I'm not anymore with you. I'm not anymore really in myself. I'm just focusing on that one outcome. So I'm not giving anything. Mm-hmm. I'm in a control. I'm trying to control something that it's not really relevant to the situation right now. Because the objective, for example, of this podcast is to share, mm-hmm. to exchange, mm-hmm. to give something to the people who are listening. Mm-hmm. It's not about me. Mm-hmm. If I'm going to get this right. So for a facilitator, it's never about you. Mm. It's never about your objective. It's never about your training method. Because if it is, then there you go. You did a really great presentation.
Presentation.
Yeah.
And there's a difference between presentation and facilitation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about giving. It's all about the person you have in front. Mm. The objective is, at the end of this workshop, person will have a tangible tools how to apply in marketing. Okay? Mm. But if I'm already starting with the thought, I really need to get as much content as possible because this way I might be seen, or this way I will receive so much, or whatever it is, because believe me or not, we all have it. We all want to do a great job.
Hopefully, yeah. That's why we're here.
That's where we're also focusing our most efforts. Mm. And that's what the outcome will be. Mm. So people will feel there was a lot of information. Listen to the feedback you receive after the workshop or a training. Yeah, that was really informative.
Yeah. Which is funny. There are studies that show that we enjoy conversations or interactions more the longer our own speaking time was. So there was this great article, I think it was on Harvard Business Review, about managers who host meetings, and then they're more likely to give a higher ranking or to evaluate the meeting better because usually they have the most speaking time. So I think it's a false friend in this way, because as a facilitator, we want to do a good job, and then maybe there is just the trap to fill all the time with too much content, with too many exercises, instead of letting the group speak, letting the group have time to reflect and to get what they need in this moment.
Yeah, and that's exactly the link to the uncertainty. The preparation is very important. I cannot underline how much preparing materials, thinking through, establishing objectives, establishing clear goals, defining measures of success are crucial. Mm-hmm. And that's what you should be in control of.
And this already answers partly the question that I had in mind is, with all this comfort with uncertainty, how much preparation do you actually put in your workshops, or how much planning do you do, and how much do you leave for improvisation or uncertainty and flexibility?
I think I might put too much, actually, preparation. I like it. It's just the way my brain works, you know? But before, I really, really prepare everything from 100 different angles. Mm-hmm. So I'm establishing, okay, what we are meeting for. Mm-hmm. What's the aim? What's the theme? What's the topic? Then I'm breaking it. Okay, what's really important to learn here? Mm-hmm. From there, how I can learn it, by what tools, what exercise, what different group settings. Mm-hmm. So then I'm coming up with those different exercise and methodologies. Mm-hmm. But then I'm doing an extra work and I'm thinking, who is my customer, my client? Who is my participant? Mm-hmm. The more data I know, the more I try to apply it to that different exercise. If people are very talkative, okay, maybe this exercise is too steady. If people don't know each other, what about making some check-in or energizing exercise in between? So I'm really trying then to modulate it. And then I'm imagining how people would react given already experience that I have working with people. But be careful with that last part. Because that's already controlling. That's already preparing yourself for scenarios that might not be there. The one thing that I do it is to practice, because I think it was Napoleon Hill or Andrew Campbell that was saying, when you prepare for an interview, for example, really act out different scenarios. This way you are practicing as in real life. So this is part of the practice. So I'm prepared in case for any uncertainty, any circumstances. But then when I'm going to the workshop, it's all gone. It's just there for me like a hard drive that if I need it, I can use it. I cannot rely on it. I cannot be sure of it. It's just I can experiment with it. So during the workshop itself, I would say that 50% I'm completely open also to improvising. If it's needed. Because there is a really fascinating theory about process and change. And if you really dive into it, you can see the feedback that this is exactly how we learn and the process itself actually happens. Change happens in different phases and you have to address each phase differently. You actually have to see it as a different phases altogether. And you need to follow wherever is coming up and wherever is happening in that phase. And then you stop, you start with a new phase. You again treat it completely as it is. So reading the room, reading the participants, reading what is needed, what is coming up. You give this a full attention. You cannot do that if you are too much in control and focus on your project.
So what are the different phases then?
The different phases depends on what you are actually there to do as a facilitator. What is the training about? If it's strictly information based, is it behavioral change? It really depends on what people need to change. Do they need to change mindset? They need to change the way of thinking, their knowledge. Everything is change. You are changing everything. So if you think about it into cutting it into phase, that wherever is coming up in that particular process that we are doing here and now, and you give it attention to it, really giving what participants is asking, even implicitly, don't worry. At the end of the process, everything will come back to where you started.
Before we continue the show, let me take a brief moment to thank our sponsor Session Lab. Are you using Excel or Word to prepare and schedule your workshops? Try something that is designed for facilitators. With an easy-to-use drag-and-drop agenda builder, Session Lab allows you to be free and creative in your workshop process design. Session Lab also comes with an immense built-in library of workshop activities and facilitation techniques to help you to find new inspiration for your sessions. Stop messing with spreadsheets and focus on designing engaging workshops. Try it as sessionlab.com. I wouldn't recommend it if I didn't believe in its value myself. So would you refer then to this theory of unfreeze, learn or practice or input and then freeze? So in the beginning you need to unlearn everything that you had, then you get new input, and then you need to freeze this again in order to be able to apply it in the future. So these would be 3 phases?
Yes, opening yourself is the basics of acquiring new informations. So unlearning in that sense, yes. What I was speaking about more particularly is that give me a topic, for example, for a training.
How to be more comfortable with uncertainty.
Okay. Okay, so let's say that dealing with uncertainty, the first block of learning would be to listening to yourself. getting more comfortable with your own being, so you can comfortably create space for others in the room. That is just one phase. But if you think about it, being comfortable in your own body will not actually really teach you entirely how to deal with uncertainty. There are at least another 4 or 5 things that you will have to practice. But in that moment, you don't think about the whole process. You are focusing what's coming up here and now, and everything can come up.
Okay, and so if you cut down as a facilitator, correct me if I'm wrong, if you cut down as a facilitator this entire learning process within one workshop into different phases, then you have the process in mind, but in every phase you can be spontaneous and adjust to the room.
The thing is that we want to achieve always something, right? Successful outcome. That our participants are really gaining what they came for. In that case, they want to be confident with uncertainty. That's what they want. But each individual, or in that, it might be also a group behavior as an overall, they have their own relationship with uncertainty. So tackling this will come up. For example, in listening to your body, what might come up that people never listen to their bodies. They feel super uncomfortable to do it in front of other people in these group settings. Deal with it, because that's the real objective. That's the real learning point that you want to achieve, because they gave it to you. That's what they need to learn.
So how would you help then a group to really deal with this discomfort, to listen to their own body in front of their colleagues? Because it involves a lot of vulnerability and weakness.
I think that's where my stand-up background is coming up. Humor and down to earth seriousness. Let's be honest, we are not aliens. Miriam, I see a human being in front of me.
Hopefully. You make my day.
I'm as well. Like, we were born with the bodies. You accept it or not, that's what it is. I see you smiling right now. Smiling and laughing and just saying out loud things as they are. It's such a shield breaker.
Yeah.
It's much more easier than to adopt the thought, okay, just for those half an hour, 1 hour, I forget my title, and okay, I might even, tease people also a bit. Just try it. If it doesn't work, you have the whole power to stop it.
Yeah.
And giving control to our participants for their own well-being really creates a miracle. Because at the end of the day, also it's responsibility. You came to learn something. It's not me trying to convince you. If you try that, then that's again, we come back to the controlling phase.
Yeah. And that's not how our brains learn.
That's not the environment to acquire anything new. And it's not really giving you possibility to open yourself. Yeah, it's just not the way the things emerge.
Yeah. And you mentioned that this is, so in these kind of circumstances, it's when your stand-up skills come up or when you apply them. And stand-up, as far as I understand it, is very much scripted, whereas improvisation is the exact opposite. And traditional theater or acting is also scripted, even to a larger extent, because with stand-up it's scripted, but you play yourself. And with acting it's scripted, but you're playing someone else. So looking at these 3 different types of acting, which skill is most important to you for the facilitation, or which one would you use under which circumstance?
I think it's the ability to think on my feet. This is creative process. So we are speaking about creativity here, because if I need to prepare a stand-up material, I need to think now on my feet. It's just changing perspective, but applying the same methodology, if you think about it. If it's about acting, so acting out a real character and a proper role, it's also a state of readiness to feel on my feet.
What do you mean by that? Thinking or feeling on your feet?
Well, I love this question. Yeah, as I said, it's being ready. Mm-hmm. I'm ready to give. I'm ready to act. I'm using everything that I have it right now here as my own tools. My own feelings, my own facial expressions, my body. It's about being there and knowing that whatever I need is there, mm-hmm. and I'm just going to have to use it. Mm-hmm. Thinking on your feet is basically making it very short, the gap between receiving an information, sinking it in, thinking about it, and then applying some of the tools that you would like to use. Mm. It's making it much more immediate. Mm-hmm. It's about trusting yourself. So it's a whole skill of how to trust that I'm capable and I'm ready to act.
How much acting would you apply in a workshop? Because, and correct me if I'm wrong, I can see the opposition between, or the tension between being authentic, just the true self, and acting a role of being a facilitator.
You don't mix those two things. And believe me or not, acting is about being authentic. Mm-hmm. It's exactly, I don't want to get too complex here, but it's exactly what we were speaking about, putting yourself in front mm-hmm. as a facilitator rather than really being in the process. Mm-hmm. And it's all about participants. It's the same with acting. If I'm thinking now to act out this way or this another, I'm inauthentic to myself. Mm-hmm. I need to first really feel it, embody it. I just need to do it. There's no thinking in it. Mm-hmm. It's doing it. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to do it with how I am. Mm-hmm. I love Konstantin Stanislavski, the father of the modern theater.
A friend of mine, she pushes me all the time to read that book. Tell us more.
Yes, absolutely. Because that's exactly what he was seeing in the 19th and 18th century theater. It was all very fake. Mm-hmm. And he wanted how to create a truthful performance under imaginary circumstances. Well, it has to be authentic. Mm. And there are so many people around the world, so many different types of body musculature. We really don't need to act out of our possibilities. Mm-hmm. But in order to make truthful performance, you have to be true to yourself first, vulnerable, naked, and use exactly who you are.
Yeah. In your opinion, what makes a workshop fail?
Oh, there's so much things. I think workshop fails if we put ourselves on the way. Mm-hmm. There's so many things. Workshop can fail because learning objectives are not clear enough. The measures of success are not even established. Mm-hmm. There's so many things that can go wrong. But I think the more is when you are inauthentic mm-hmm. yourself, when you try to push something that you are not actually embodying. Mm-hmm. Listen to me. People are not stupid, okay? We are not completely unsensitive to our surroundings. We know when somebody is authentic or not. We can feel it.
I think it's an instinct, yeah.
It is an instinct, and whenever the workshop is about you as a facilitator, about your aim, it can be felt. Mm. People will not respond. They will not resonate with you. I think also it's very important in the whole education settings, you have to be passionate. Mm. You cannot just come and say things as they are. We have to see you because we learn also with different parts of our brain. We also learn using our emotions. We also learn using our imagination. So if I don't really have it coming from a facilitator, I will struggle to grasp the concept. I will struggle to listen, to pay attention. So it's really that giving state and being ready, open to uncertainty as well, rather than just getting ourselves on the way and making it all about us or mythology.
Yeah.
Or just the outcome.
I'm totally with you. And I believe that especially new facilitators might struggle with this a lot, because although they want the best for their group, they're so nervous maybe about their planning and how it will go, and they just lack the experience of anticipating how a group might react or how much time the group might need for a certain exercise. So what would you recommend or advise to a maybe rather unexperienced facilitator on how to deal with uncertainty, and maybe applied to the case of an exercise just takes double the time as expected, and you know that you won't be able to finish all the process on time?
There is a quote also from Stanislavski that I would like to share here, especially with everybody who is doing facilitation from not such a long time. Is he was saying, love the art in yourself, not yourself in the art. So really ask why you do it, because your why will be immediately reflected in what work you are actually achieving there with participants. It's all about forgetting about yourself, getting out of yourself, and making it all about the process and the participants. Of course, it's seen more in the newbies and people who are just starting, but you would be surprised that also very well established and experienced facilitators still might struggle with this. It's not about egoism that I'm saying here, that it's about me. It's also the good intentions that are sometimes in the way. For example, you really struggled, let's say marketing. You really struggled to make Facebook posts and how to create a really engaging content. And then you came up with this new tool and it's so amazing. And it really changed your career as a marketing person. And you just want people to know it. Fantastic. You think about others. You want to share. There is a passion. You write a process. You are so good in designing how they can learn this new technique. Amazing. But what if people don't need it? Who cares? Yeah. You are passionate about it. Yeah, for you it worked. This is already imposing on another person what they might need and how they feel with it. And you might get frustrated, right? That something is not going on here. And you are going through your objectives and through your process and through your tools. And you're thinking, what might go wrong, right? What went wrong? Why people did not respond? But the thing is, it was all about you.
So how can we learn to get out of our own way? Again, just be open. It sounds easier than it is. I mean, of course, maybe it's just a matter of time. With maturity, we learn to embrace our own weaknesses so we can be more open. And we realize that we can learn from basically everyone and to deal with our own uncertainties. It's to give up control. It's to give up any control and being in that ready state. So what would be your favorite exercise to learn that? There is one exercise from improv, which is counting to 20. I don't even remember if it was improv or actually a proper acting exercise, but everybody sits in a circle. It's the best done with closed eyes. And as a group, we have to count to 20 all together. Different people at the same time will shout the numbers. Somebody has to start. The magic of this exercise is
that you don't know who's going to start and you don't know who's going to say the next number. But if two people say the same number at the same time, you need to start from the beginning. So this is a huge uncertainty. And being in the room and reading and listening to yourself all at once, done collectively. What's really amazing about this exercise is that you get immediately stressed and you focus so much on the outcome to arrive to number 20 that the first thing that you do is you don't listen. And people constantly say 5, 5, 6, 6, 6. Where it's all about, no, switch.
Listen to the room.
Whenever your turn is coming, you know, and you have to act on it.
So does it, because I think I was just assuming I once did a similar exercise, just to clarify, does it go around the circle?
No.
So everyone feels whenever it's their turn, but it's intuition, right?
I struggle with the word intuition because I think it sounds very fluffy. For me, intuition, it's two things. It's all the experience you gather from before, so all your knowledge, and also being here and now. So 100 readiness for perception. It's really perception in that moment. Combining it all together, if you think about it, we are sitting in a circle and you said 1. Well, of course, number 2 is needed. If I'm unsure, I should not speak up. There is a moment when you are sure that number 2 should happen and just act upon it. But if you think about it, you are already forcing an outcome and other people also might think, so you're going to say number 2 together. Where you can also sense, if you practice really sensibilizing your body, you can actually sense who is going to speak, because it's a completely different state of the body that we are sending signal to our surroundings. If I want to say number 2, I immediately become straight. I prepare my voice. I even prepare my breath. So there are signals coming in. It's not all fluffy. I just feel I'm going to say a number. No, this way you are actually practicing to be much more sensible and reading the room as well with all your senses.
And when you do this exercise, do you sense or did you experience a difference between different groups? So for instance, I can imagine that a team that has worked as a team, they might get it right from the beginning just because they know each other so much and they know how to collaborate with each other. Whereas an entire new group that has never met each other before, they might struggle more?
Actually, it's the opposite. The group that haven't met each other before are much more cautious and they are waiting to say the number. Whereas people who really know each other, just like, yeah, they are assuming. It's all about collaboration. Collaboration is a beautiful extra outcome that this exercise provides, but it's actually about listening. When we are too familiar with each other, we are not listening so much anymore because I know what's coming up.
That's why we have so many fights in families and relationships, because we just assume, but we don't ask anymore.
Yes, exactly. So there are 2 different types of settings. One time I did this exercise in a corporate setting, and I was just so, it was actually funny because I just forgot how competitively done this exercise, can be. There was one person who decided for the whole group that she cracked the code, and she would be immediately, somebody who said 1, she would say 2. Somebody said 3, she would become always the second number. And everybody just agreed to that because, hey, the outcome, the objective was to count to 20, right? We are here to get our goals, right?
Brilliant.
Where it's like, no, it's about the process.
Yes, it is. But on the other hand, I think it's awesome to see that one person taking leadership and introducing a process, a system to the group without even pointing it out or making it explicit, and the group understood that and thought, okay, this makes sense. It will lead us to the goal. I think that's awesome.
That's absolutely brilliant. And personally, I compliment them actually on that one. And this is where the part of how much you improvise and how much you go with the plan. Let's say that I would be focusing so much that it's about process. No, guys, you did it wrong. But you go back. What I'm here actually to do. It's about driving their performance. It's about actually taking more leadership, because this exercise is also about personal leadership. I act. I know I'm needed and I am acting upon it. Number is needed. But in that case, you really need to be prepared of what the outcome will be of this group. And you can adjust it then, the exercise. Wherever is coming up with the group, in that case, amazing strategy, point that out. There are so many strategies if you work together, if you say yes to that strategy, which you all did collectively. Problem would be if you would do it as a case of, yeah, the girl was just going to do everything, right? It's a huge pressure. So you have a really great reflection later. Is it present in your work environment? This exercise itself, as any other that you do, can go in a million directions. And that's where you really need to be on the stair of your ship. But the sea is enormous.
Yeah. It sounds for me as a perfect kind of ending thing. The sea is enormous. Beautiful. If someone fell asleep after minute 1, just woke up, thought, oh, they were talking about the sea. What was it all about?
It was all about how to not get ourselves in the way of our facilitation. It's how to deal with uncertainty by being just open to it and comfortable. Never putting control, too much control, because in that control, this exactly excludes the process of learning and what beautiful things might emerge from that are always there because there is a reason to.
And if now someone in the audience wants to learn more from you, wants to see you standing up as a comedian, or wants to learn how to be more comfortable with uncertainty, how can they reach you?
They can visit my website at www.livingimprovaacademy.com. You can also find me on Facebook. I know my name is quite difficult. Just copy-paste Grazyna Frackiewicz.
I will put it in the show notes.
Yes. I do workshops also for facilitators and individual coaching, facilitation coaching. You can contact me via my website or just send me an email to info@livingimprovaacademy.com. I would love to practice uncertainty with you.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing and taking the time.
Thank you so much, Miriam, for having me. Really, it's really beautiful to have a conversation with you and make workshop works.
Yes. Thank you for staying tuned and listening to the show. I appreciate your attention as I know how busy you are. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and engage by sharing your comments and thoughts, and visit workshops.work to download the one-page summary. I'm looking forward to seeing you back at the next episode, and I wish you a fruitful day.